So there's a lot of discussions these days regarding colour science and whose colour science is best and whose is worst. And there's a lot of comments and stuff from people saying they wouldn't switch to Sony from, say, Canon, that they think the colours that you get from Sony don't look natural compared to the Canons, and they much prefer the Canon look. And when I first went to Sony, I could kind of see the point. You know, I'd gone from shooting many different Canon cameras and just got so used to being able to take the camera straight out of the box and just start taking pictures, and the results that came out of the camera already looked pretty good. But when I tried that with the Sony, they really didn't look nice at all. The colours were just all over the place. It took me a little bit of time to work out that I had to kind of put my own custom settings in to get the look that I was after. And I did talk about this in my A7 III review video a couple of weeks ago. The fact that now, having got the settings in place, the footage you are seeing here is pretty much unedited, straight out of the camera. And a couple of you guys commented and wanted to know what settings I had in place. So today, I'm going to talk you through them. Now, I need to stress, this is not some guaranteed quick fix for everybody, okay? This is what I found works for me in the situation that I'm in. You might find the same settings work for you. You might find that they kind of work and you tweak them a little bit. You may find that they're completely crap for what you need. Okay, I shoot a lot of my videos in this room under artificial light, so these settings work for me in this scenario. If I go outside, I tend to tweak the settings. I might change the white balance. I might change the picture profiles to give me more scope for editing afterwards. So this is just what I've got for these, but let me show you what they are. So for starters, let me show you what completely default looks like with no change settings whatsoever. So this is completely out of the box standard. This is no creative styles, no picture profiles, automatic white balance, and it doesn't look particularly pleasing. And so when I first got the camera and started shooting videos, I tried heavily editing the footage afterwards to get it looking something more like what I was used to with Canon. And if you followed this channel and seen some of those videos, you'll know I failed quite badly. I just really couldn't edit the footage to look how I wanted it to look. So I kind of gave up fighting the post-production side of it and started delving into the settings within the camera to get the footage coming out of the camera looking a bit more like what I wanted to begin with. So the first thing I changed was the creative style. Now, standard was okay, but I actually had a look through and decided that I preferred the look of the autumn setting slightly better. And that looks something like this. So this is the autumn creative style, and I just found compared to the standard one, this looked a bit kind of more slightly punchy, but the colors were a bit more accurate. I felt on the standard, the whole thing had a bit too much of a green tinge. I felt that the autumn setting shifted more away from those green tones than what the standard did. So the autumn looked a little bit better, but for my personal preference, it was a little bit too contrasty. Especially for video, I prefer to go kind of lower on the contrast, and I can add a bit more back if I need to, rather than risk punching too much contrast and then trying to bring it back later. So I went into the autumn settings and I brought the contrast down to -2 and the sharpness down to -3, and that looks something like this. This, I felt, just gave me more the look that I was going for, but obviously if you prefer a slightly more contrasty look in video, you don't change the contrast. Pretty straightforward. Now for white balance, by default, it just comes in automatic, so the camera picks and chooses, and generally it does an okay job, but I've actually found that I prefer using fluorescent day white, especially under these lights. It seems to work better for me. But I have found that that added a bit too much green for my likings. So I actually dialed in 2.5 points of compensation towards the magenta side of things, and that looks something like this. And those are my settings. This is the footage that comes completely out of the camera, untouched, no changes whatsoever. Now in terms of color comparisons, I will let you be the judge, because right above the Sony A7 III now, I have my Canon M3 mirrorless camera also recording me. And these are the two footage streams side by side, Sony and Canon. You pick. Now, like I said, these are just my settings that work for me. They might not necessarily work perfectly for you. You might need to tweak them slightly. You might find that they just don't work at all. But what do you guys think? Do you like the settings that I've got? Do you think that they still need improving? Have you got your own settings that you find work best for you? And if so, what are they? That's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.